Dianna Russini from the Scoop City podcast talking about how important this offseason is for the Browns.
Then you have the Cleveland Browns, right? Who it just appeared for weeks that they were definitely going to go quarterback. It just made sense. We know what the situation is with Deshaun. And then they go and sign Kenny Pickett. So how much does that change what they want to do in this draft? Is there a quarterback that they love? Stefanski was asked about it, and yes, he did speak very highly of Kenny Pickett, but he also shared that they're going to be meeting with Shedeur Sanders later this week in connection with his pro day. So they're obviously doing some homework here and trying to figure out if he meets the level of quarterback play that Kevin Stefanski is looking for. And I do think there's a lot of pressure on Cleveland right now to get this right. And I don't know if you would define right as getting the right quarterback here or making the pick of the best player available. And going back to what you said, we know who those guys would be.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win if you get one of them, one of the best players available in this draft.
With that, let's welcome in Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. So, Fred, we'll get to that question in a minute. I think it's really interesting. But I know you wrote an article about what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday, that the Browns won't force a quarterback at number 2 and they'll be patient. Take us through that article, just your thoughts on that.
Well, I think he took out the teeth on that Stefanski and Barry are under the make it or break it year when he said we're not going to force a quarterback at 2, and it might take a year or 2 to find the right one, but we got to find the right one. So to me, if you don't have the gun to your head that you have to get the quarterback right now, I think that changes things, at least the perspective. Those two might not even ever have been under the gun to win this year, but for Stefanski to publicly, or for Haslam to say it publicly, I think that just, to me, it tells me that the pressure's off taking a quarterback at 2 if you don't really believe in him. If you feel like you can get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, who are generational type players, you don't have to force the quarterback, and you maybe can trade back up or take one a second round, something like that. So I think it was significant more from just hearing the owner say that to kind of take the teeth out of the narrative that if they don't win right now this year, they are gone, because it doesn't sound like that at all, whether people like that or not.
So you and I have both said that they have to get it right, and I think Dianna Russini touched on it in what we heard. Do they have to get 2 right? Do they have to get the draft right? Do they have to get the quarterback right? Is there a pecking order to that?
Well, I think, they got, because of their moves this offseason, or lack of moves, they have a lot of areas to address, and that's telling me that they're really going to wait for the draft and try to address their running back, their wide receiver, the edge rusher, safety, across the board, fill in with those 10 draft picks or trade for players that can come in and play, and then backfill what they don't get in the draft, as they've done in the past, go out and sign guys after the draft like they've done in the past. They've signed or traded for Zadarius Smith, and Malcolm Smith was a linebacker signed after the draft a few years ago. And so there's those guys out there that opportunities are drying up for veterans as well. And so right now, after the draft is when they would fill in what they need. But as far as needing impact players now, it looks like they're really planning on stocking up in the draft, and that's a good thing. They haven't really had a big draft, but they definitely have to nail it. But I would say the quarterback. That's why I've talked on here for so long, Dave, is that I feel if you were to get the quarterback, get a guy that that can step in and be the starter, then you can draft whoever. You're not forced to take a quarterback if you don't love him. I mean, the prevailing thought is Cam Ward is the guy, but I don't know if the Browns truly feel that. But if they do truly feel that, and he's the only one, and the Titans take him, then you don't take Shador Sanders just because he's there if you don't think he is separated from the rest of the group or even as good as another of other options. And that's where you keep hearing the Kirk Cousins smoke, and it's dialing up a little bit. And so I just feel like all along, if you could get somebody like that, and even if you couldn't, that you could have got somebody else. And they didn't. The trade for Kenny Pickett, I don't know what you thought. I think we talked about it on here. But the day it happened, I wrote a story about it today, thinking this is just he's back. He's an upgrade for the third string. DTR was your third string quarterback if he was here, and okay, you got an upgrade there. He might be battling for the backup depending on what quarterback you draft, but I didn't think he really was in the mix to be the starting quarterback. But hearing Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry talk him up, and now looking at the options, even if you brought in Joe Flacco or Carson Wentz, I don't know if they would be better than Kenny Pickett at this point. So I'm starting to think that Kenny Pickett is your bridge quarterback. And especially if you don't draft a guy at number 2, he very well can be your starting quarterback come opening day.